information on the health issues at your destination. After all, malaria is a common problem. Cheryl Cole, I can't say her new married name, is probably a famous example. So make sure you take all the correct medical advice. You don't have to go to your GP. You could use a travel clinic, but this will cost more. Some medicines do have side effects when you combine them with an existing condition. So if you have an existing condition, a GP will be the best bet, because they'll know which one's best for you when taking into account what you already have as a condition. Some travel insurance companies may expect you to have a European Health Insurance Card, or EHIC, if you're travelling to a company that is a member of the European Economic Area, and this includes Switzerland. Now, this is free. There are websites that charge a fee for it. Don't do it, because all they're doing is passing information you would have typed in on the free website. Anyway, they're not helping you in any way. So always make sure you don't pay for an EHIC card. There will be a link, as always, on the Travel Show Facebook page. The EHIC card will entitle you to the same state-provided healthcare as the nationals of the country that you're visiting get. So it doesn't replace travel insurance, as it won't cover all treatments, and you can't use it to fly home if you're ill. But it doesn't mean you're going to get free medical cover. You get whatever it would cost the locals. Do remember that. Different countries handle the EHIC card in different ways, so check before you go. For example, in Malta, you may have to pay and then claim back before you leave. If you don't, you'll have to claim the money back from the NHS. And trust me, getting anything out of the NHS is not a quick service. So if the country says claim the money before you go, do that. Don't leave it until you get home. And don't forget to scan your card when you scan all your other travel documents too. And as I said, there will be a link at the Travel Show Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at holiday_hut. So it's the annual Grandad Guinn Holiday Safety Lecture, and it's for the kids who are going away on holiday for the first time without their parents this summer because they've finished their exams. Now on to actual talking about holiday safety. You may be enjoying yourself with other things on your mind, but you're at much at risk of being a victim of crime when travelling as you are when you're at home, so you should always be on your guard. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office website has travel advice for every recognised country in the world, so see what it says about your destination. It's not all about terrorism and bombs. Crime waves and hotspots are always also mentioned. And you can also find out warnings on travel forums such as TripAdvisor. Only take what you need when you're out and about, leave everything else in your room safe or in a hotel safe. If you look like a tourist, then you will become more of a target, so don't go with loads of camera equipment, iPods, I'll show my age now, iPhones and stuff dangling from your person. Keep everything discreet. Use taxis instead of walking, or use use taxis instead of walking, and instead of using public transport after dark. Never hail a taxi, only use one in an official taxi rank, or use a taxi from the hotel to get the driver's business card and then call them every time you want to use a taxi. If you see a demonstration or a disturbance, don't hang around to watch. It could turn violent, and the police in different countries have different methods in dealing with large crowds, so you could get arrested, hurt or worse. You should always keep an eye on your valuables at all time. Don't leave anything unattended on the beach or by the pool. An out-of-sight security wallet may help you keep things safe. You should be extra careful when you've been out drinking, as you're less likely to be aware of people around you. If you are robbed or attacked, you should report the crime to the local police and obtain a crime number and report from them. You will need this for any insurance claims. Inform your bank and credit card issuer if you're old enough for a credit card if your traveller's checks or credit cards are stolen. Check your bank's terms and conditions to see what you're liable for. Small print, it gets everywhere. Include the bank's contact details with your scanned documents. Your bank may be able to transfer emergency money for you to use if your cards have been blocked. Again, check with your bank before you go to see what they will and won't do. Local police will handle the investigation into crime. You should not wait until you got home to report it. You may be entitled to compensation as a victim of crime, so ask the embassy or consulate to see if it's worth consulting a local lawyer. It's highly unlikely that you will make any money out of buying jewellery, precious stones, carpets or anything else and selling it on when you get back in the UK. If something sounds too good to be true, and it probably is, and never ever agree to take anything home for somebody on their behalf. Now, the local law, the best way to stay out of trouble is not breaking the law. You may have plenty of experience with dealing with the police here in the UK, but don't think that the police around the world will act in the same way. Check with the FCO website and up-to-date guidebooks for details of any local legislation that you may fall foul of during your stay. Camouflage is banned. Camouflage. You know what I'm trying to say. Clothing is banned in places like Barbados, for instance. So you need to know that. So some things might not be so obvious, and remember that taking photographs of railways and bus stations could get you in trouble just the same way as taking photographs of government buildings and police stations. Now, alcohol, you should not drink if you're not old enough to drink wherever you're staying. Local police at major resorts have far too many drunken British holiday makers to deal with as it is, without the added complication of an underage drinker. In most cases, you will not have your drink confiscated and you will be arrested. So unlike home, bail is not always an option and you could be held for days before your trial. I was in Mexico a long time ago when a Canadian student arrived. He got drunk on his first night, got into trouble and was deported the next day. If this happens to you, your holiday company is not going to give you any money back. You can be sure of that. Once you arrive in your resort, you will probably be weakened by your journey by not eating properly or not drinking enough fluids. Although when I've been at the airport, people are drinking at 5 in the morning, so they could be a bit worn out because of something else. In this dehydrated state, any alcohol will have a greater effect. Combine this with the excitement of being away, and that means accidents could happen. 3 young holiday makers died before I gave this presentation in 2013. It's just the start of the holiday season. And this is just by larking about when they got on holiday and acted silly, to be perfectly honest. And as I've already mentioned, your holiday travel insurance company will not pay out if you have an accident while being drinking. Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. So more for my annual lecture about staying safe when on holiday for the first time without your parents. I've done alcohol, now it's time for drugs. In some countries you will find drug use is more obvious and accepted than it is here. This doesn't mean that it's actually tolerated by the authorities. Because of the apparent openness, you may be tempted to smoke a joint or take something else, but you may be given more than a token fine or deported. In most cases, around 50% of British nationals that have been detained overseas are serving sentences for drug use or drug offences. And remember, prison conditions can be every bit as awful as you've seen on the TV. You may not be aware that you will get a criminal record in the UK as well if you're caught with drugs abroad, and this could have a major impact on your plans for your working life. Remember those rioting in London thought that they were just having fun and would get away with it? So a lot of them are now serving time and their careers prospects have been shattered. Although embassy staff will try and help you with the legal processes, but they won't give you any legal advice, they will not be asking for any special treatment for you, and you will be kept in the same conditions as the locals. You'll also be unlikely to ever go to that country again. So here's a few examples of the penalties that you could face by using drugs, and this is based on information in 2013. I haven't updated it yet. I will have to one day when I give this annual lecture again. Cyprus has a zero tolerance policy towards drugs, and possession will normally lead to a hefty fine or even a long prison sentence. In Spain, all recreational drugs and possession of them is illegal, and even if you've got a small quantity on you, you can still be imprisoned. In Greece and Tunisia, even small quantities of drugs can lead to long terms of imprisonment. Jamaica has severe penalties for all drug offences. Even small quantities on your person can lead to imprisonment, and all sentences are served in Jamaica, and prison conditions there are very harsh. I'm sure that some of you will probably feel that the Caribbean is very relaxed about drugs, but really, this is not the case. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia and Iran can impose no, you're not probably going to Iran, but I'm just adding it, can impose a death sentence for drugs charges. And again, your travel insurance company may refuse to pay out if you're ill or hurt while using drugs, and your travel company or airline may refuse to fly home on the book ticket if you've had a drug prosecution in the country you just visited. So other drug tips: never take anything home for anybody else. I've said this once before, I'll say again, never take anything home for somebody else. It's easy to hide drugs in cuddly toys, clothing and footwear, etc. You are responsible for everything that you carry across borders. Holding it for a friend will not get you off. Pack your own luggage and make sure the contents are secure if you have to leave the bag unattended somewhere. Carry a letter from your doctor or a prescription form for any medication that you need to take with you. Some prescription drugs may be illegal in other countries, so consult your GP to discuss a short-term alternative. Dubai, you can have problems getting prescribed medication in, and even Japan, Vicks inhalers are banned. So check with the FCO website and the country's embassy website for up-to-date information, or give the embassy a call. Female travellers. Attitudes to women in other countries may be very different to here in the UK. If you're off on a girls' trip, you should be aware that these differences, and you should make sure you take the right steps to ensure that you still have a great trip. When you check into your accommodation, if you have to sign a guest book, only use the initial of your first name and don't put Miss or Ms. Use a door wedge when you're in your room to prevent the door being opened, and don't let anybody into your room if you're not expecting room service, maintenance, flowers, etc. Your appearance is the most important thing to consider when you're visiting another country. The main rule from when you're away from the hotel, pool or beach is ensure that you cover your arms and legs. As well as reducing unwanted attention, this also can keep you protected from the sun. It may seem daft, and perhaps a little sexist, but a wedding ring can help keep local men away. So while you're out and about, do not leave your drink unattended, and do not walk alone at night or go in a bar on your own. And always leave details of your plans with somebody at your hotel if you're going somewhere. So basically, don't be any different than you would be here, but just a very more vigilant, just to be on the safe side. And you need to keep your cool when you're on unwanted attention. Don't make matters worse by causing a confrontation. It could be very tempting to give the guy a poke in the eye, but don't. Just keep your cool and walk away if you can. And finally, don't tell strangers where you're staying, and don't give out details of your travel plans to anybody you don't know. So if you are lucky enough to be going away on a summer trip without your parents for the first time, in the weeks in the run up to your trip, keep your eye on the FCO website, www.gov.uk/FCO, in case the local situation where you're travelling has changed. It could get violent, there could be visa requirements changes. Don't forget to let your bank know that you may be using your debit card abroad, and make sure your card's not going to expire while you're away, because you could have a very short trip, a very uncomfortable trip if you run out of money 2 days into a fortnight away. Don't put your address on the luggage label, just use a mobile number. And of course, you shouldn't give out your address to a stranger if you're called while you're still away. Store all the emergency contact information you need in your mobile. Make sure you're using the phone memory and not the SIM card, so when you go away you can buy a local SIM for the cheaper phone calls for your mates to keep in touch, and you still have the numbers in your phone. Your parents' number should be stored under ICE, and this stands for in case of emergency. But when you are away, do remember to keep in touch back home. It may sound soft, but your parents will want to know that you're okay. Well, most parents anyway. Some may be happy to see the back of you. And it won't take long to write an email or send a text. Let them know, and also let them know if your travel plans have changed. And that's the end of this year's lecture. Do join me next year when I'll be going through it again. If there's any tips I've missed out and you want to share them with us, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, please post them on there. And as I said, all the websites that are listed in this lecture, this rant, this bit of nagging, will be at the same Facebook page. We've reached the end of my lecture and the show. All websites mentioned during this week will be on the facebook.com/John Guinn travel page, including information about how to find out more about Hawaii. I do hope you can join me next week on the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.